that's for it for the news. We're going to be hopping into the topics here. The first topic we're going to talk about is actually a news story. Let me pull it up here that I wanted to talk about a little bit more at depth. Not super depth, but just where is it? Hold on one second. I can't seem to find it. I don't know where it is. It's lost in the ether. Hold on. Okay, I found it. Problem solved. Okay, so yeah, my topic is going to be about this news about the Final Fantasy 15 structure. So apparently the game director basically came out and said that the first half of the game is going to be open world and the second half of the game is going to be more linear or linear period. The game is 15 chapters. This is, a lot of people are saying it's opposite of Final Fantasy 13. I guess 13 was very linear and then it hit open world after 40 hours or so.
Yep.
And I think he said that this game can be completed in total between 40 and 50 hours. The main route, quote unquote. So it's probably not factoring in obviously.
Wow, that's not even side quest, huh?
Yeah, just main route. So I want to talk about the structure because a lot of people are hating on it, and there's a lot of valid criticisms. Obviously, the main criticism is, well, yeah, this sounds like a team that didn't have time to finish their game. So instead of making the whole game this big, huge scope of a game with open world everywhere, they decided, oh, we'll trim down on the work we need to do because we don't have time to, and we'll make the second half.
10 years wasn't enough for you motherfuckers?
Yeah, I don't buy that for a second. This is clearly a design choice. They did this intentionally. This isn't a limitation.
Yeah, I think it is a very interesting way of making a game. I think to me it seems like a funnel, right? It's kind of like you start in this big open world, and as you progress, it kind of gets narrower and narrower, which I kind of like in some of the best TV shows. For instance, in Game of Thrones, the opening seasons have these big, wide landscape shots when you enter cities and stuff, whereas going into season 6 and 7, a lot of it is very character-driven. They're closer, tighter shots, right? These individuals learning their stories, stuff like that. You already know where you are. You already know the places they are. You don't need these huge, vast vistas and landscapes.
I think there's a lot of those shots still in the show, though.
No, but it's very apparent in the early seasons, though. They even do it as far as like labeling it, like this is King's Landing, and that's part of world building, obviously. And I think this is an interesting route to take with video games. I can't recall a video game I played that was like this, where it was open world and then went straight linear. But I think it's a very interesting way. It's like you get this breadth of this world, and as the game's going on, obviously the narrative's getting more and more serious, and everything's coming to a head, right? You're figuring out who the antagonist is, what the protagonist's main goal is, all this stuff. And as it narrows down, it kind of gets more serious and kind of intense, and that kind of lends itself to being more of a linear experience. The weird thing with open world games sometimes is it's the main story doesn't really feel as deep or as connected because you always do the main story in between you doing a bunch of other crap, like a bunch of other side quests, you know?
So that's what I was going to say is this solves that problem. Like the one biggest gaping problem with like Fallout 3 and 4 where you get out of the vault and you're looking for your son or you're looking for your dad. But at the same time, the world is telling you, go explore, go do this random stuff, go visit this town. And you do that because that's kind of what how the game is meant to be played. But then there's that dissonance of, well, the story is telling you like your son is missing and your wife was killed. So you wouldn't be doing anything else.
Yeah.
So this kind of solves that where like maybe, some things are going on and you're running around at first, but then like once you figure some things out, it puts you on a narrow path and says, this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't try to distract you with side quests when you would never do those you would never go blow up Megaton when you're looking for your dad that you lost, I don't know.
Yeah, I
like this.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it's interesting. Obviously, time will tell whether this game's good or not, but I do believe really that, as many doubts as I have for Final Fantasy 15, I do believe that this was a design choice and this was an artistically, creatively driven choice and not a time choice of like them not being able to finish the game. Yeah. What do you think about this structure, Jordan? Are you worried about it? Does it intrigue you? Will it benefit the game? Like, what do you think?
There's a lot of other worries I have about Final Fantasy 15 before this, but no, this isn't something that really worries me. I think Witcher has that. Witcher 3 has that where you go to a certain part of the game and it has a pop-up screen that says, hey, you're not going to be able to get back into the open world for like the next 2 to 4 hours, so make sure you're good to go as far as that goes. So yeah, it makes sense. Like I would rather it be that way where you get all this time in the open world and then once you can kind of see the game winding down, then you kind of get funneled in, as opposed to the opposite from FF13, where you're already like, your characters are already upgraded and you've already been through all this and blah blah blah. You're just doing it this big open world at the end. It's not nearly as engaging or as fun. So I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I would like maybe a very, like, my dream scenario would be a very small linear chunk at the beginning, kind of just to get the hooks in of the story.
I'm sure the tutorial will be.
And then go open world and then go linear. Like, this is a very weird and probably not perfect comparison, but like, so think of Pokemon, right? So in Pokemon, you start off in this very small town, and you're learning how everything's working, and then you go and you have the whole world exposed to you. But then at the very end of the game, there's the final four, and there's this very linear path you have to take, right? For the most part, the game is linear because you have to go to certain gyms and that stuff. But you know what I'm saying? Very loosely, that would be cool. Of like, it's very linear driven early on for a very short time, then open world, then linear again. I do think mixing these kind of game design elements is a really intriguing way of doing it, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, Jordan, that being narrow and then going wide for like huge portions at a time isn't the best way to go. I think it's, you go open too narrow, right? You want to have people explore this world, then narrow down to a specific focus, as opposed to having this whole specific focus and then like, oh yeah, here's the world, go have fun. It's weird. So yeah, this is interesting. I agree with you, Jordan. There's a lot of other things to worry about for Final Fantasy 15 other than the game design of how the game's going to move forward. Hopefully the game runs well. That's very important, obviously. Hopefully the game comes out. That's very important to a lot of people too. But yeah, the structure I think is very interesting, and you know, people always talk about game designers, they should take more risks because we don't want everything the same. But I do think that this is going to be something that will be very intriguing.